mic stuff's happening, which we're excited about. So hopefully the quality of sound is better for you. Keep us posted in chat if you feel like it's too quiet or any of those things, or too loud or whatever, and we will make adjustments. But we miss everybody. Hope you're well. And I think we're good. I think Charlie is giving me the yes. I believe that we are active going. So he is going to monitor some chat for us. I'm going to kind of kill a little bit of time and talk to you because we're a little early. I think early's fine. But here we are. We're going to review some parkour movements today, which we're excited about, and kind of take it as a live class. And so the focus for today is going to be on Guerrilla Gait specifically, and we'll get into more about what that means, and shoulder rolls. So we'll start with some backward rolls, and then we'll move on to forward rolls as well. So we are excited. I'm waiting on Charlie to tell me that it's full steam ahead.
I don't think Facebook is live yet. I think YouTube is live.
YouTube is live, and now Facebook is not live. Come on, Facebook. What's happening? We're learning. If you are there and in existence, hit us up in chat. Let us know you're watching. We're excited about that. Say hi. We miss you. It kind of feel like we have less social distancing going on because I'm talking to you all. So it feels a little less lonely. So thank you for helping us feel less lonely.
This is very interesting. So YouTube automatically goes live when we start getting stuff into the encoder.
Yeah.
Facebook will not go live
Until 3 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Facebook, you're weird. Okay, well, we are waiting. We're delaying YouTubers. YouTubers, we are waiting 3 minutes to get Facebook to catch up. Yeah, we miss you. Anybody out there? We love you.
Joshua Hale's in chat.
Yay! Hi, Josh. Miss you. How's Polly? Hope Polly's doing well, not being a diva today. But again, we're gonna work on some quadrupedal motion on the ground, moving and crawling on the ground, specific movement patterns, and then we're gonna evolve that into backward rolls and forward shoulder rolls today. And then after, I don't expect this to take a full 1 hour class. We need to give ourselves time to cut. And then after that, we will come back immediately, well, I guess with Facebook making us come back at 7, we will come back at 7 with mobility class live stream. So we're gonna do some shoulder openers and hip openers, and that will be really fun as well. So hope that people can tune in for that as well. Moving our bodies. We got 2 minutes left. Silly Facebook. We'll know next time. We're learning.
I just added my mic to chat as well.
Oh, Charlie's mic is now added. I didn't realize they couldn't hear you before.
Yeah, I muted myself.
Oh.
But here I am.
But Charlie exists. You just don't get to see him. He's a figment of our imaginations.
I'm a ghost in the shell.
Just waiting now, waiting on Facebook to go live so that we can all be linked up and chat together, doing our thing. Learning about Guerrilla Gaits and shoulder rolls, and we'll get warmed up. Might as well take this minute, and it'll cut in all weird to warm up joint prep. So I'm gonna do some joint prep if you would like to follow along so that I can be prepared when we truly go live in less than 60 seconds, then that'd be great. We're gonna have our hands go out, do some big wrist circles. Keep your shoulders down.
Wow, Facebook gives me a countdown.
Facebook's giving a countdown.
We have 15 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Switch directions if you are following along. I believe we are live with Facebook now, so we're gonna switch our joint prep, putting weight on one foot. We're gonna get that ankle warmed up, pointing and flexing. Hi, everybody. I think we are officially ready. Today, we're gonna do a parkour class, specifically focusing on Guerrilla Gaits. Let's do big circles with our toes, which we'll talk about what that means later, and shoulder rolls. So that'll be really exciting. Switch directions, do a little bit of joint prep. We had to go live a little early, so Facebookers, let's do some double tasking, multitasking with some wrist circles as well. Switch sides, pointing and flexing. We got a Charles. His voice exists. His body does not exist in the stream yet. I'm Nicole. I'm excited to teach you today. Big circles. Switch directions. And sweet. So we're gonna get started with warm up with some quadrupedal motion, moving on the ground on all fours and crawling. We as humans are bipedal creatures and we automatically move contralaterally, and you don't think about this, moving in opposites contralaterally, because it looks really weird when somebody walks this way. We don't like to do that. So we're gonna practice on the ground with our QM forward, quadrupedal motion, QM for short. We wanna think about getting into a tabletop position with our hands placed underneath our shoulders, using our toes to push ourselves up, trying to keep our back parallel in a neutral position. We're gonna move opposites, hand and foot together. So you can think of this as the same side knee coming to same side elbow. And as we switch, boop, we can get ourselves up. I'm gonna try not to go off screen here. And with that quadrupedal motion forward, hands, feet, all moving in opposites. Nice small steps. We'll do one more. Opposite hand and foot at the same time in a 2x2 pattern, ideally. Cool. We like to say in parkour, anything forward, anything you can do forward, you can do backward. So we're gonna try that. From backward quadrupedal motion, what we wanna make sure to not do is let our feet get away from us. The longer we extend our feet, the bigger we have to press with our shoulder, and it's just silly. So we're gonna start in that tabletop position again, pressing up with our toes. And we're gonna do tiny little movements, one little hand, one little foot, grab the ground, and we switch. And we switch, we switch. Quadrupedal motion backward, boop. Forward, backward. Think about keeping your hips nice and low. And always, always, if we are grabbing the ground, grab it intentionally. None of this. No kickstands, no knuckles. It'll work until it doesn't. Dynamically, we like our tendons attached, typically. Cool, contralateral motion is one way to move QM forward and backward. Let's switch the pattern. We're gonna do bilateral motion. So both sides, our hands and our feet are gonna move at the same time. We call these monkey jumps. So we're gonna get practice three lanes. It's hard to talk and move a lot. Okay, here we go. Monkey jumps forward. We're gonna grab the ground, two hands. We're gonna jump those 2 feet up and place them down. It does not matter how far away your hands and your feet are. If you are less mobile, being more far and open, that's fine. We can also take this stance a lot wider to accommodate, but what we don't want is a V and a leapfrog. So we don't want second position ballet. We want to keep those feet parallel. Ideally, they are in between our arms, but they might need to go outside of our arms, and that's fine too. So whatever works best for you, hands, feet, hands, feet, hands, feet. Cool, next time through, what I want you to think about. Don't let your hips bottom out to your ankles. So I am mobile enough that I can physically get my heels to touch my butt. No bueno, it's gonna stretch your knee, it's bad for you. We don't want that. Lift those legs, engage. Don't let your legs drop. Last one, monkey jumps forward. Awesome. Anything forward we do backward, right? Maybe. So backward monkey jumps, same thing with quadrupedal motion. Woo, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with QM backward. We don't want to have our legs get too far away from us. So this time we're gonna reach down, grab that ground, and then we're gonna jump our feet back. Big push with our hands, get yourself upright. Ideally, we don't wanna slide our hands or walk our hands backwards. So big hands, big feet. Hands, feet, hands, feet, hands, feet. Cool, we can turn around, do it again. Backward monkey jumps. Backward monkey jumps. Amazing. That bilateral motion, both sides, hands moving together, feet moving together, was a, how would I say, torso leading maneuver we're gonna switch it. We're gonna move the pattern to side monkeys, where we're literally leading the direction we wanna go with the side of our body. So from the sideways position, I'm gonna take my two hands, I'm gonna reach them off to the side, grab the ground. I can jump my 2 feet away to the left of my hands. For you, stage right. I need Jonathan's help for that. We reach hands, feet. We can do this both directions. So instead of moving forward and backward, I just led with my left shoulder. Now I'm gonna lead with my right. 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 feet. Cool. Oh, I think I need to do it a couple more times to be honest with our repetitions. Side monkey, trying to make sure if my hands and my feet are intentionally moving together, that I'm not creating a drum yet, that they're not hitting separately, but actually together. Because now we can change the movement pattern even further and take those bilateral side monkeys and isolate limbs. So instead of 2 hands, 2 feet at the same time, which is reflected of that monkey jump from before, we can now isolate our hands, hand, hand, foot, foot. If I'm moving this direction, my right hand is gonna reach first. So this back hand, back foot, front foot. Whatever mantra makes sense in your brain. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, back, front, back, front, back, front, back, front. Whatever makes sense to you is completely fine. I like back, front, back, front. So I'm gonna reach those hands. This is the back of my body. This is the front of my body moving the direction I wanna go. I'm gonna have one hand, hand, jump, foot, foot. Hand, hand, jump, foot, foot. And we can have it send back the other direction. Hand, hand, jump, foot, foot. Hand, hand, jump, foot, foot. Sweet. Side monkeys with isolation. So let's do that. Back and forth again. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Right, left, send it the other direction. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Pretty cool. Taking all of those movement patterns together, we can create this odd hybrid that we're gonna call Guerrilla Gait, which is what we call it here in the gym. The goal of the Guerrilla Gait is to orient your body in a forward direction, but have a contralateral brace. So if I turn around and you think about one shoulder, I can create a line across my body to the opposite hip. That is an arrow. So if I think of an arrow pointing out that direction right now, as I stand upright, my arrow is crooked. I want to orient my arrow facing the direction I want to go. So if I imagine a straight line on the ground, I'm going to take that arrow and I'm going to point it the direction I want to go. I'm leading in this case with my right shoulder. My right shoulder and my right foot are going to be on that line, on that lane, and I'm going to orient my back left hip also through that path. The correct stance here is going to be a back foot with about approximately 45-degree angle. Front foot is gonna be toes pointing where I want it to go. So if I crouch down in this position, it's not forward facing. There's a little bit of a twist angle here. So it's this nice hybrid between all of them. The movement pattern for the hands and feet are going to stay the same. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Back, front, back, front. So in this case, left, right, left, right. As I reach through and transfer my weight from my feet to my hands, left, right, I pull the ground underneath me and I get my feet in place instead along that line. Foot, foot, hand, hand, foot, foot. I'm gonna turn around and not switch sides. So now you'll have a different view. This again, back foot, 45-degree angle, front foot pointing forward, thinking about that arrow pointing through my body, hands at the ready, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Let's do that again, not switching sides. Left, right, back, front. Whatever mantra makes sense to you. One more time. Sweet. We can also switch the sides. So instead of, for me, I was orienting with my right foot forward, I can switch. I'm gonna put my left foot forward along this invisible line on the ground. My left shoulder is gonna be pointing the direction I wanna go. Thinking about that back opposite right hip, that contralateral brace orienting down that path. Whew. Back foot is at a 45. Front foot is pointed forward. Hands, in this case, will be right, left, back, front, hand, foot, hand, foot, and turn around. Hand, foot, hand, foot. And again. I'm forgetting which side I'm on. Woo-hoo. Cool. The cool thing about the Guerrilla Gait is that you can really generate a lot of speed doing this. So kind of like how a horse can trot or can gallop or canter, we can do that. So this is gonna, look up, down, all around in your space. Don't ram your head into an object or a wall. But as that pattern gets comfortable, we can really just go. It's quite fun. Okay, thinking about this braced arrow across my back. We're gonna come back to that for rolls, so set that aside. Moving on, thank you for warming up with me doing some QM review. We're gonna switch to rolls. So for rolls, there is a very important skill that we need to have. It's the ability to control our hips and get them up and over our shoulders. So the way we're gonna work on that is with candlesticks. Finding space on the ground. We gotta just start on our back. We're lying down. From here, I can press my arms directly into the ground. Now, this is gonna limit my range of motion a little bit, but it's helpful because I can literally press and use the strength of my arms to help me out. And I can think about getting my feet up off the ground. And with a candlestick, I wanna make sure that my toes are pointing up and reaching as far as they can to the sky as my hips lift off the ground, not back and over my head towards the wall behind me. So I want to think about pressing into that ground, reaching my butt up, and big hip extension as you push a button on the ceiling, not on the wall behind you. This is a perfectly fine arm position. You can also get a little bit more range of motion. There's a little bit more balance element involved, balancing on the back of your shoulder blades. As long as you're pushing directly over your head, you can't go backwards. If you start to get a little convoluted with a Y, we might have some problems. So up to you, pick your poison. But over your head, I can press into the ground over my head as well as I lift up, and I can think about squeezing my glutes, trying to point, big full hip opener. And as I'm coming down, I want to imagine each piece of vertebra in my spine zipping down onto the ground, nice and slow. So here, with these candlesticks, I've got a very symmetrical exit. Both sides of my hips are in that bilateral, similar to our monkey jump position, and they're interacting with the ground at the same time. So let's do 3 of those. Boom. 2, my spine. 3. Cool. From here, we can change the exit. So that exit can go away from symmetrical, and we can actually present a booty, present a butt cheek, present a side, however you want to think of it. I'm going to say I want to create counterclockwise rotation, and I want to think about my left hip interacting with the ground, and ideally my right hip won't. So as I extend through that candlestick, nothing changes, and I'm going to over-exaggerate this. I'm going to make that twist happen in the air, and as I curl down through, I will end up having, from a left side hip, I will be able to tuck this foot out of the way, and I'll be able to get up on my left side. So as I candlestick extend, I can twist, and I can present a hip and get myself ready. From here, we can go a step further, getting up off the ground. If that leg is nice and open and I tuck my toes, I can think about rolling along this full blade, not over my knee per se, but along the whole surface area. As I dig that heel into the ground, I can use, if this is my right foot, my opposite left hand can pull and assist as I press up, and I can exit in a lunge. Woohoo! So that was one side on my left. I'm gonna get myself back down into a seated position. I'm gonna do that candlestick again, second time on my left. twist, roll out, up I go. And third time's the charm. Woohoo! We can do that on the other side as well. So I'm gonna not switch directions. I'm gonna stay the same direction so you can see it from a different side view of my body, understanding that now I'm going to create rotation to open and present right hip. Oh, I'm losing my phone. To present right hip to the ground. So from this candlestick, we big hip open. We are going to rotate did I say this correctly? Yes, clockwise. And present that hip to roll down through. Boom. Whoa, hello everybody. Boom. There we go. Rolling
Nicole,
up.
we've got a question through chat.
Yeah, what's the question?
Audrey is asking, was it a choice to have the arms down by our sides or up overhead, or was that a progression?
Oh, it's a choice. Eventually, I would encourage you to feel comfortable with arms overhead because you're gonna have more range of motion and less restriction, and you're gonna be able to get a bigger hip opener, and you'll be able to balance on your shoulder blades. And that's gonna be helpful someday in the future for rolls. Whether or not it's the right choice for today, that's up to you. So absolutely fine to add in with that down press through your triceps, pressing into the ground, or you can explore that overhead. For now, it's a choice. Thanks for that question, Andre. Cool. We gotta practice right hip exit. 2 more. Whoop. Getting ourselves up. 1 more. From this candlestick, boom, rotation, present hip, up I go. Excellent. Thanks for that question, Audrey. Moving on. So we just demonstrated our ability to use candlesticks to lift our hips, which is awesome. But we also need to figure out how to lift our hips and direct our legs overhead. So we're gonna do that with candlestick toe touches. With a candlestick toe touch, you no longer have to articulate that full hip opener with the toes to the sky. You can now keep that hip bent, and we're gonna keep those hips piked and send our toes overhead. If I imagine where I'm laying down is a huge clock, and directly behind me where my head was is noon, and by my feet is 6 o'clock, I could do this overhead with my arms over my head, and then I get stuck because your head's there. So instead, we're gonna change the arm position a little bit now. So now it's not an option. We're gonna get our arms out to the sides of us. A little bit down is fine, absolutely. And what we're thinking about doing is guiding our legs to either 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So instead of getting that pinched feeling over our head being in the way, we can create even more room by opening up and thinking about creating as much space as possible. Do I sound weird? Am I cool? I feel like when I get a little squished. Okay, perfect. We can still hear everything. So as I open up to create more space, I wanna think about tucking my chin still. Because if my chin is not tucked, there's a lot of movement and possibility of pinching, and I don't want that. So as I'm thinking about pressing into the ground directly to my sides like a T or down a little bit, that's fine. I wanna send those feet nice and slow, and I wanna try and reach. I'm gonna just determine a side. We're gonna go for the right side of our body, which is 11 o'clock. And so I wanna think about those toes reaching and trying to touch that point on the clock. If they don't touch and make a connection, it's totally fine. Depends on your level of mobility and how your body is put together. I've got a short torso and longer legs. Charlie has a longer torso and shorter legs. That changes things. So here we are. As we extend through, I'm gonna try and watch and spot my toes, and I'm thinking about reaching. I'm just gonna have a nice little touch. And now I have the option from here to exit symmetrically, or I can now understand that thinking back to that Guerrilla Gait, if I had my right shoulder with my arrow, my left hip is what I was trying to orient. That's the opposite contralateral brace. So if my legs are reaching to the left side of my body, I wanna think about trying to exit on my opposite hip. So in this case, oh, I said that wrong. Reaching to the right side of my body, sorry, then I'm gonna exit on my left hip. So as I reach back, toe touch, and as I extend, I'm gonna create that twist. I'm gonna tuck that leg. I'm gonna get myself up into a stand by rolling over, lunge up. Let's do that 2 more times. So I'll do that nice and slow. So from my laying down seated position, there's a nice little slant in the floor here. Kind of, yeah, there's a little bump. I'm like rolling off to the side. I do also want to say that ideally, if you've got some pillows around you, if you've never done this before, the worst case should happen is that your hips don't go overhead. They go side flop. I don't even want to show you that, to be honest, because it's going to just hurt. But
So
it hurts your feelings more than anything. Ah!
Speaking of a worst case scenario.
That's a worst case scenario. What?
Speaking of a worst case scenario.
Oh.
Joel is saying, might be getting ahead of the game a little bit, but a bit of advice, socks on hardwood and rolls with momentum are a questionable combination.
Oh, Joel, of course. Well, let's put it this way. Do we let you do parkour in socks in the gym? No. Should you do parkour at home in socks? No. Just saying, unless you're doing strength workout and you're using your socks specifically for slip and slide.
Counterpoint, we don't let people use bare feet in the gym.
Counterpoint, because 200 pairs of bare feet is totally not sanitary.
But bare feet would be a good option on hardwood floor.
True, yes, bare feet in your own home with your own nice feet in your own home. You go, you get it. Okay, going back to toe touches, reaching right side, exiting left hip. We're getting that toe touch. And as I extend, I twist, I tuck, and now in this case, left hand, right foot, lunge out. Cool. I think I said I'd do that 2 more times, so I will. Whoop, whoop, I forgot my hands. Toe touch, twist, tuck, up we go. Cool, so this is all great core engagement. Really think and commit to trying to slow your hips down and letting each bit of your vertebra lower slowly, bit by bit. Try not to have this vroom happening where you are sort of cupped in a not perfectly U shape. And at least for me, my hips are larger in the heavier part of my body. So they really like to try and send me down. So I gotta fight to keep that nice hollow body, tucked ab curl in order to make this successful. So let's do the other side. Toe touches, I'm now reaching to the left side of my body with my toes at 1 o'clock. So I'm gonna think about exiting right side hip. So as I press down, toe touch, twist, out I go. Whoop, standing up. Let's do that 3 times. Toe touch, twist, out I go. I keep losing ground. Backing up and doing it again. Toe touch, twist, and as I go, getting myself up. Woohoo, good job. Those candlestick toe touches, super important. If I take my arms and instead of pushing them directly into the ground, if I change the position, I can hover in that toe touch, and I can actually just commit to allowing my knees to drop. So even if you weren't able to physically touch your toe to 12 or to 1 or to 11 or to 1 o'clock, that's okay. Now, if I think about sending my knees down, magic happens, but we wanna make sure that that magic doesn't pinch our neck and that we are prepared. So the way we're gonna do this is one arm is gonna alleviate pressure on our head by literally pushing into the ground and holding. The other arm is our fulcrum that we're moving over. Fulcrum is not the right way to say that. Fulcrum. That's fine. We'll stick with it. Cool. We're gonna go back to the original side. In this case for me, it was my right side, 11 o'clock. That means that I need everything to go towards my right arm. So my right arm is gonna extend out and be straight like a T and just straight out the whole time. No ifs, ands, or buts. My opposite arm, I'm gonna turn so you can see better, is going to press up into this ground that does not exist yet. And we're gonna think about alleviating weight, pressing the world up away from you. Lifting the weight off your shoulders, ha ha. we need to make sure that we have that room again, that we're creating that space, tucking that chin. And everything here is where the ground is. We're gonna send our feet that direction. Everything is making points of contact. So here I go, I'm thinking about going back into that candlestick toe touch, but this time I have one arm directly out. I'm thinking about being ready to grab the ground. I'm getting my head out of the way. And as I send my toes that way, I can grab. And once I touch, I can drop my knees, press into the ground, and get myself up. Magic. Backward rolls. Awesome job. Let's do that again. We're only gonna do 2 on each side. As I roll back, arm goes out straight, grab the ground, and I can press my toes into the ground to support, press my hand, and up I go. Let's switch sides. This time, my left arm is totally extended. My right arm's ready to grab the ground. I'm thinking about dropping my head towards my right shoulder so that I have all this room in the world. Boom, boom. And as I think about that toe touch coming back, I reach, I spot, I press, and my knees take me there. Let's do that one more time. Arm extended. Woo. So in an ideal world, you're able to do this nice and slow and controlled. This should not be momentum oriented. So even if you are one of our students, I'm just gonna call Joel out. Joel's got backward rolls, he's got forward rolls. He does rolls in ways that makes me nervous. And so for him, he's gonna really be thinking about slowing it all down so that if I were trying to take a picture of him, every frame is perfect. In every frame, he could just decide to stop in. So it's 0 momentum, all strength oriented. And it's gonna really help drive that all home. The backward rolls are really wonderful because we can use lots of points of contact and no risk of literally shoving our shoulder into the ground. Charlie's gonna take it away.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so we just did some candlesticks, we did a backward roll, and now we're going to transition these into forward rolls. Nicole, I'm gonna remind you that you should mute your mic.
Oh, I can't, why? I just will.
Just because if I project sometimes and then it echoes
and then
a little
it echoes, so I'm not allowed to say anything.
But by all means, if you've got other stuff that you wanna say, you unmute that mic and you pull it right on in. Absolutely. Okay, so we're talking about doing that backward roll. Now we want to send it forward. And one of that most important thing that we were talking about, we had that arm out to our side. We were rolling backward over it. And what we want to really pay attention to is that as we had that arm out, I'm going to move my phone just so it doesn't fall out of my pocket onto my face, because that would not be nice. I'm having trouble with my zipper. There we go. All right, so if I've got my right arm out, I'm holding on with that left hand. We just walked through this position of going backward and pushing. Your arm did not start off upright. And what we want to think about is if you take your hand and you feel the top of your shoulder, you're going to feel some bony bits. And these bony bits are not going to feel so nice on hardwood floor or rubber floor or cement or wherever else you happen to be. If you've got carpet, well, great. You're ahead of the game. You're helping yourself out a little bit. You've got a little bit of padding underneath you. For the rest of us, we've got the best learning tool available, and that's the rigid environment, the hard floor. So again, we're trying not to put the top of our shoulder down on that hardwood floor. And even if you travel back just a little bit, you're gonna find this nice little bony bit here on your shoulder blade, on your scapula. That's the spine of your scapula. We don't like to put that on the hard floor either. However, if you take that arm and you rotate that thumb under and you really think about inwardly rotating with it and you feel the top, you're gonna feel some squishy stuff. And that squishy stuff is what we're trying to place on the floor first. So let's get ourselves back into that position. I'm gonna start on my right side. I've got my right arm out. I've got my left hand ready. I'm once again gonna go back into that shape. I roll myself back and I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna really think about where I was, what I need to do, and I'm gonna think about reversing this entire motion as I bend my head under, I place my shoulder, I push with my legs, and I unravel, and I get myself up. That was pretty cool. Let's do that again. That arm goes out. I get that hand ready. I slowly lift myself up. Arms go back. I guess legs go back. Very nice. And we'll reverse it again. We go forward into a roll. I'm tucking my head under my left armpit. I push with my legs, and I get myself out of that roll. That's very good. And then instead of getting yourself starting by doing that backward roll, we can actually go right into that forward roll. We'll start off this time down on our knees, just like we had before. What we want to really think about, just as Nicole was talking about before, that line that we're creating, that comes from that shoulder. If I want to roll my right shoulder, I can't put my right shoulder down on the right side of my body. That's going to send me off on an incorrect trajectory. It's not where we want to go. Instead, I want to make sure that I'm going nice and straight. I even have this wonderful artifact in the rubber here, that line that goes through. And I can even think about setting myself up with that left hip on that line. And I'm going to think about placing my shoulder on that line as well. And so I'm going to think about taking that left arm. I'm going to grab the ground. I'm going to make some space so that I can get my head to go in. I rotate that arm again. I want to inwardly rotate it. And I want to think about curling so much that I can look at the ceiling. And I straighten my legs. And I unravel. And I can even look down and go, wow, I'm on that line. That's pretty cool. Let's get ourselves standing up. Let's try it again. So again, I'm dropping down, I'm starting on my knees, I'm making sure that my left hip is right in that line. It could be an imaginary line, it doesn't need to be an actual physical line like I have right now. I'm gonna take that hand, I grab the ground, that right arm inwardly rotates, I tuck my head under, straighten your legs, and you get yourself up. Let's do the same thing, but on the opposite side. I'm gonna do it this way so you can see the entire time. This time I'm switching sides, got my left arm out. Right arm gets itself ready to grab the ground. I do that little candlestick first. Legs reach back. A place. And a push. Hey, very nice. Here we go. Let's get ourselves going back the other direction. I tuck that head through. Straighten your legs. And we get ourselves out. Let's go one more. Rolling on back. I get my right hand ready. Legs go up. They reach back. Push with that arm. We like to alleviate the pressure off our neck. And then once again, we line ourselves up. Repeat. Very good. We just did a little cool little tick-tock forward and backward. And now I'll get myself set up. We can do that without having to start in that reverse roll. And once again, I'm going to use that wonderful line that I've got here right down. I'm going to make sure that my right hip this time is lined up on that line. And I'm going to try to place my left shoulder again down on that same line. I have to twist my body just a little bit. And even though our body is tilted, it's still traveling in a straight line. So again, that right hand grabs down to the floor. I make some space so that my head can travel into my right armpit. That left arm goes out. I tuck it under. I really think about curling because I want that squishy part of that shoulder to make connection with the hard ground. You push through your legs and you unravel. Very nice. Let's get ourselves set up. Try again. It's in a different browser. You'll need to go to the Brave browser. Nicole wants to make sure she can see if any of y'all on Facebook are checking out with us and asking questions or commenting or anything else. We are monitoring chat, so feel free to ask questions or just give us any comments that you might have. So again, I'm grabbing the ground with my right hand, reaching that left arm out, curling, 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 get that head into your right armpit, straighten your legs, and we roll ourselves out. Very nice, let's do that one more time. Dropping on down. Again, we're starting on our knees this time. Hand grabs, rotate in, curl, straighten your legs, and we get ourselves up. Very cool, wonderful. Now, very rarely are we running, doing our little parkour stuff, and then we're like, oh, I want to roll over this thing. And then we go and do parkour again. That's not how the world works. So just as we started off before, we're going to think about little teeny tiny progressions. How can we go through all of those motions without just diving into it? Because that diving the momentum isn't really something that we want right now. We want to really slowly, progressively work our way up into that. We don't dive at the floor with our shoulder. That's no good. We want to have a little bit of room that we can kind of buffer whatever. If we end up, let's say, going a little bit too much momentum than we expected, maybe we started to rotate a little bit too much. Instead of diving at the ground with our shoulder, we want to reach with those hands. But at the same time, we're not thinking about keeping our hands just static out in front of us. We are lowering. What I want you to think about is lowering your shoulder to the floor or grabbing the ground and guiding the floor to your shoulder. So I'm gonna switch back to my right side. I was working on that the first time. This time, instead of thinking about getting my arms in and rotating right down in that shoulder, I want to think about keeping that inward rotation shape, but I'm going to bring my arm over. And I just want to think about keeping that internal rotation just a little bit, because again, we're looking for that squishy stuff that's on that shoulder right out that way. I'm going to start on my knees to begin with, but again, I want to make sure that my left hip is lined up on that artificial line, whatever one it happens to be. I've got that hand set. And the same idea, I want to try to place my right shoulder on that same line. I'm trying to make some space so that I can tuck my head into that left armpit. And once I get it there, I straighten my legs and I get myself up and I go, wow, cool, I'm on that line. I can't hear you. Can you say that a little bit louder or with your mic? Oh, technical difficulties.
Audrey's asking, do you feel the right side of your body mostly on the floor when left arm is out to the side? What I mean is I feel mostly my right side rolling through the floor when my left arm is out.
When your left arm is out, she feels the right side of her body. I feel a little bit. You shouldn't feel only, oh, you'll need to turn your mic off.
I'm bad at this, everybody. I'm sorry.
We're working through it. This is the first time of us testing out lav mics. We've got both of us laved in, and so it echoes in here, and it's going to pick it up on her mic as well. You might feel a little bit on your right side. What you don't want to feel is the top of your right shoulder as you got that left arm out. That means you are rolling on your left side. You're going to start on that left side, and then it crosses onto your right hip. Where it crosses is going to be different for everybody. Everybody's got their own unique shape, their own unique definitions on their body. If you happen to feel it more on your right side, you can try twisting a little bit more. But otherwise, if you feel that first initial moment on that squishy part of your shoulder, you're doing fine. Whatever you feel afterward is just might be your unique experience. But I'm going back to where I was before. Starting down on my knees, I'm thinking about placing those hands out in front of me this time because, again, we're grabbing the ground and guiding it to that shoulder. We're not diving at the floor with our shoulder first, especially with our head in like this shape right here, going like, go down. That's no good. So we got our hands set. I'm rotating, got that shoulder ready. I'm thinking about placing that shoulder just right in front of or past my hands. As I make that contact, I tuck my head, and as I get that hand out and under, as I get that shoulder over those hands, I want to think about straightening through my legs, and I exit on out. And again, if you're rolling on your right shoulder, you're exiting on your left hip. Let's switch that over. I'm gonna rotate myself around. I'm on my knees again. My hands are ready, but again, I'm rotating them just a little bit because I want to internally rotate that left shoulder. So I want to place that squishy part of my shoulder down on the floor first. I'm gonna line myself up. I want to make sure that my right hip is lined up on my line. I got my hands set. I'm rotating in. I don't want my hands super out far away from me. Then I'd have to jump a little bit. I want momentum into this. I want to make a nice tight little ball. And again, I'm guiding that shoulder down. I tuck that head into that right armpit this time. Left shoulder makes contact. I push through my legs, and I get myself up. Very good. Here we go. Let's set ourselves up again. Again, I'm down on my knees. I'm getting my right hip lined up on the line. Hands set. Pull them in close. Again, I'm tucking my head into my right armpit. I place that left shoulder down, push through the legs, and we get ourselves up. Very good. I'm going to rotate myself over, and I'm going to think about adding a little bit more speed into this. How can I do that? Instead of starting on both knees, I'm going to line myself up, And I'm gonna drop myself down into this kind of like weird kneeling position. I don't wanna be super outstretched in a lunge. I wanna be really compact like this. And as we start thinking about getting that knee up and not down, pointed down to the ground, this knee is the direction. It's going to help guide you, and you're gonna go the direction that your knee points. If I'm pointing my knee that way, I'm gonna roll that way. If I end up pointing my knee this way, well, I'm gonna go that way. Maybe I don't wanna go that way. Maybe there's a box there. Maybe there's a drop. Maybe there's a person, I don't know. There could be anything there. The other thing that we wanna think about is we wanna make sure that our arms are actually starting to stay inside this little box that we create with the rest of our body. And the only reason why we wanna think about doing that is because if our right arm goes on the right side of the leg and your left arm goes on the left side of your leg and you go down, oh, we're not gonna have a very fun parkour class for the rest of the day. That's no good. So instead, we're gonna think about lining that left hip up on that line. My right leg is just off to the right side. I place that arm down, and I'm gonna think about going nice and tight. And as I drop my head in, I'm gonna start thinking about extending through that leg. This right leg is the most important piece right here. As I lift and I push, and we roll. Very good. Let's get ourselves up again. I'm gonna drop it on down. You don't need to be out on your toes for that left leg, but if you want to, you can get that extra little push. It might help you extend through that extra little bit. Again, I'm nice and compact. I get my hand set. I'm pulling in nice and close because I don't need to be super outstretched yet. I'm thinking about tucking that head. I place that shoulder. I push through that leg, and we roll. Let's turn ourselves around. Try this the other direction. So again, I'm thinking about where that knee is pointing. I want to go nice and straight with it. I don't want to tuck that knee in. We've got it nice and set. Get my hand set, drop myself down. And again, same idea. That head goes to the opposite shoulder. My head's going to my right shoulder this time. I'm presenting that left side. And I think about pressing through that left leg. And we roll. Cool.
Rooster Bad Guy has a question. He's asking, while slowing down, I feel like I'm digging into my elbow. Is that normal?
Because we're going super slow, use your elbow. It's perfectly fine for right now. Eventually, we're gonna take that out of the equation because we don't like putting hard parts of our body on hard things. By all means, unless you have the strength to really hold and support through your arms, you use your elbow, and that's totally okay for right now. But we're thinking about we're getting ourselves through. Like, let's say, maybe I'm gonna try this time not to put my elbow down. I'm gonna get myself set, and I really think about pushing. I'm holding that elbow in nice and close as I push. That's a lot more challenging. So as we get better at this, and this might be a moment where you decide, that's challenging enough for me for today, I'm gonna keep practicing that. You can continue to do that. Or if you wanna take this just a little bit farther, we got a little bit more time, you can start thinking about going through this from a low crouch. And I'm thinking about taking that left knee this time off of the floor. And I've got my hands nice and ready. And this time I'm gonna think about pushing with both legs. And the most important bit as we start adding more speed and more momentum into this, don't take your legs along with you prematurely. What I mean by that is, my feet are right here, down on the ground. I wanna try to point at that spot on the floor for as long as possible. I want to try to balance this equation out so I'm not slamming my hips down on the ground. I got my hands ready. Again, I'm thinking about internally rotating that right arm. I push through my legs and I roll. Ooh, I'm gonna switch sides right away this time. I'm starting nice and low crouch. Got my hands set, rotating, going.
James is asking that he's realizing how bony his back is and any tips for someone with no back muscles to cushion.
Get back muscles. If there's any reason for hypertrophy in the world, it's for stuff like this. It does get better. It's not fun to learn on hard, rigid floor. If you only have hardwood floor available, it is what it is, and you should very much limit the amount of volume that you do because bones are things, and we don't need to put bony parts of our body on hard stuff that often. With that said, you can still train, you can still adapt, your body still becomes used to this motion. It is something that takes a lot of time to get used to. Just like when you start off lifting, if you've never done barbell back squats before, doesn't feel nice on your shoulders, then eventually your body gets accustomed to it, it gets used to it. and it's just something that we understand is a necessary part of strength building. Same sort of thing as here. It's something we just gotta get used to. Cool. Thank you so much for the comment and the question.
James, I feel you. Audrey, I agree. Carpet would be awesome. But James, another option too is to really go back and drill the backward rolls to understand the body positions and being able to make sure that you're able to control those like transfer point changes. That might help develop that sensitivity a little bit. And then transferring to forward rolls on really hard surfaces would just be the next step.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much. What time are we at? All right. We've got one more class that we're going to be doing today. It's going to be a mobility class. Thank you so much for joining us for rolls. Again, we want everybody to understand that even though the gym here is closed, movement is not closed. I know that we're not allowed to like do that much stuff outside. We can't do a lot of like social interaction with all of our friends and our family and our buddies and whatnot, but we can do it here. And we can still get our movement in. We can still progress. We can still become better. We can still become awesome, adaptable people. And thank you so much for joining us along this ride. So we really appreciate you being here. We will see you if you're sticking around. We'll see you in about 14, maybe 13 minutes, right here again, Rochester Parkour. We'll see you soon for some mobility. Thank you so much.